Hey guys, how's it going? This is Chandler. So today I want to talk a little bit about another very common misunderstandings in terms of the Chinese culture when you hang out with people or doing business with them, and which is very like something that you might notice if you kind of live in a community or city that where there are a lot of Asian immigrants, living there. So the first one is a personal space. Okay, so which is very common in America that like people in general like they prefer a little bit of a personal space, right? And also depends on the relationship. If you are in a public place like a supermarket, how far away you should usually keep a distance from a stranger versus a family member versus a very like a person with a very close relation like a girlfriend or boyfriend, right? So based on these different scenarios and the people, and you have different kind of like a distance you need to maintain. It's called a personal space, a bubble distance, because people really care about it here in the United States. Well, if you go to East Asia, Korea, Japan, China. Well, I can't say for Japan and Korea because I'm Chinese. I used to live in China, so because the population is so huge, imagine just like in Shanghai, Beijing, these cities, there are over 20, 30 million people. And as you can see on the YouTube video, like in the morning when you go to work, take the train, it literally is so packed that it's everyone surrounding you, and you cannot even stretch your body, and it's literally like it's packed like that. And even in Japan, in Tokyo, as you can see in the YouTube video, that you need people who work in the train station to push people into the door, just because the demand is huge and there's just so many people. So when people grew up in that situation, that environment, so they're so used to being super close to each other. So when it comes to the United States, of course, that's a lifetime habit, and it causes a misunderstanding that the local Americans will feel like, why are you so close to me? I'm not. It just feels uncomfortable. You're invading my personal space. So when the first time my friend told me that, I was like, okay, so how far should distance be? And they said like, okay, you should, like that distance. I was like, okay, it's really hard for me to tell what distance is appropriate. So every time I need to ask them, okay, is this distance appropriate or not? So so when you are dealing business with a person from that culture background, they didn't grow up in the United States, so you do not take it personally because it's just very normal. It doesn't. The personal space does not exist in the culture back in Asia. Same in the elevator here. When I go to work in the elevator, it's never packed because people feel like, okay, it's enough people. If you keep going in, it's too crowded. The personal space. But in Asia, they maximize the utilization of the elevator. Everyone's got to get in until it cannot fit in any single person. That's how it works in the Asian culture. So just be aware that if that happens, don't take it personally. And step two, try to kind of ask them questions like, hey, I'm just kind of curious. Like I'm curious about your culture. Is it like people usually stay super close to each other, like not so much aware of the distance, like a personal space in your culture? So that way it's more like your buffer, your concern, and the way you ask like that would make the person feel like, oh, you are curious about the culture. In the meantime, you're trying to tell them like, hey, in the US you should be a little bit aware of the bubble distance. Don't stay too close to people, instead of just telling them, hey, I really don't feel comfortable, can you just stay a little bit away from me. That might kind of might make the people feel a little bit uncomfortable to accept your concern because the culture is very indirect. Okay, so that would be the first one. So this is the first one like I personally experienced in the United States, and I heard a lot of my friends telling me the same thing, that people from Asia tend to do that a lot. Okay, second. The second one is sounds a little bit maybe uncommon. That so when I was back in China, so if I hang out with my friends, really close relationship, of course, that sometimes we kind of have like a physical touch, like maybe just like I grab the shoulder and stuff, right? Or nudge the arms and stuff. But here, like when I was hanging out with my American friends, and we were really close friends, but when I do the same thing I did back in China to them, they would tell me, hey, don't touch me. We don't really touch that much here. So that's a little bit of a kind of like a culture thing as well. Um, I would say that back in Asia, people would, if they feel really close to you, they tend to, there's a sort of a little bit of physical touch, not in a sexual way, but that kind of actually is a positive thing that I can tell they actually get along with you, but somehow here people don't do it. So if you have a friend actually kind of do that to you, first of all, you gotta feel like that's a good thing because they feel get along with you, as you can tell. But of course, in the meantime, if I understand, you are suffering. You don't like it because it's not a custom and culture here, right? So just kind of be aware of that and communicate with them in an indirect way, like, hey, I really feel like I really enjoy hanging out with you, but just it's is it like your culture background people touch a lot back in your country? Always kind of like a goal from their perspective to make them feel like you are curious about their culture, you're curious to learn about them. In the meantime, kind of do a culture exchange or tell them, hey, this is not how it works here, if that makes sense to you guys. So, and a lot of times, there's a huge misunderstanding when the people from Western countries, America, like go to China to travel, and they see like two females in a shopping mall on the street, they hang out with each other, they actually shake the hands, and people say, oh, are they in a love relationship or anything like that? No, it's not. It's just the way people do it because they are really close friends. That's especially very common for girls back in Asia to do that a lot. For guys, not so much, but yeah, related to what I just said, like if they kind of, touch you a little bit, or it's a kind of positive thing in their culture because they really feel close to you, to get along with you. So just these two kind of like a misunderstandings could have happened because I personally experienced all of these two, and I constantly got the advice from my friends telling me, hey, don't do it, and so I think that's important that I can bring this up so you guys can at least realize, okay, this is not they're trying to be a creep. That's why they stay super close to you. It's not, and they get along with you. That's why sometimes they can be a little bit touchy, but always communicate in an indirect way, not necessarily a very direct way. Like if you're in couple, you're like the victim. But so yeah, hope you guys feel that this is helpful, and let me know that if you have any questions, I can kind of explain. And I always feel really passionate about explaining this because it is interesting to see different cultures, how it blending with each other together, right? And that's why we're in the U.S. That's that with a great diversity, all kinds of different cultures. I think that intercultural communication is very interesting and helpful, especially if you want to do international business. There's a lot of things going on, and how to kind of smoothly kind of establish your trust and build rapport. So, yeah. So hope you guys enjoyed the video, and give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you feel this is helpful, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a good one.